Welcome to the ninth grade launch. I hope you are very excited and happy to be here. And while we're talking, feel free to get some empanadas, get something to drink. If you have not been in the upper school before, the restrooms are around this corner and to your right. So please feel free to get up if you need to use the facilities. But again, welcome, thanks for being here. For those that do not know me, I'm Alfie Hobbs. I'm also an 8th grade parent, and I'm the head of upper school, so thank you. And I do want to recognize some of our other faculty members and staff members who are here. I'll start with Mr. Michelle in the back, the head of middle school. We also have Miss Elizabeth Grossman. She's the assistant head of upper school, and she will be working with your students when they make the trek across campus. We've got Miss Peabody, who is our academic dean. And so when class discussions come up and scheduled discussions, she's your person. And we've got Miss Kelly Griffiths, who is our 9th grade dean. So in high school, deans are kind of like what you know the grade level coordinator to be, but deans are a little more involved in the activities here in the high school. So we also have, I can't see him, but I know Dr. Oval is back there, head of the school. And Ms. Rachel Petrella, who's our executive director of college guidance. So I just want to give a few moments to recognize our agenda. We're already in the welcome part, but I'll talk about the transition to high school. Ms. Peabody is going to talk about our academic program and give you some insight into how class structures go in the high school. And then Ms. Petrella will talk a little bit about how college guidance and her office supports students throughout the high school experience. And then we'll have a student panel. So we'll have some students here who are going to share their experience from high school, and Ms. Grossman is going to be moderating that, and then Dr. Ogle is going to give us a little bit of data and numbers about the high school. You all can stop and ask questions. It's fine, so you don't have to wait until the end. First thing is, what are 8th graders thinking of when they think of high school, right? And there's this mix of maybe they're not thinking about it at all. They're also maybe really nervous. They could be really excited. And it could be both and, right? Maybe they're nervous about classes, but they're excited about meeting new people. And just through our experience, these are some of the things that we typically see come across like an 8th grader's mind, especially as they are kind of making that trek to high school. Academics, right? Grades now become important. Not that they're not important now, and I know you all are telling your kids, hey, get good grades, but grades become this different thing now. They're also thinking about harder classes. There is a little more homework when you get to high school, and the structure is a little different. Social interactions. We do typically have around 30, maybe to 40 new kids who enter the grade. So the social dynamics that they have now, they're going to change. And 9th grade is one of those grades where sometimes the friend you've had since maybe like 5th grade, you're gonna separate a little bit. And it doesn't mean that they're not gonna be friends, but those friendships or relationships are going to be different. Right now, at least my 8th grader is like, I'm big man on campus. But when they get into 9th grade, guess what? They're the little peon again. There's also a lot of comparison in the 9th grade. Students often think, oh, people are doing this. It's not necessarily the case, but the kids are comparing and normalizing the things that they hear. And this is where it's important for us and you all to make sure that, hey, those things might not be true. So let's figure out a plan to support what you're doing. New experiences, so we have this thing called grade level projects. If you haven't heard about orations, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's a 9th grade level project. Global travel is different in the upper school. The middle school right now, they kind of travel throughout the year. All of our trips in upper school are at the very end of the year. And it's this great thing, and it's a lot of work and a lot of fun. Dances and parties are a little different. You know, the middle school dances right now, all the adults are kind of right there. It's a little different in high school. And then more freedom and choice. You know, right now, as a middle school student, there's a lot of, you go do this. The kids get to actually start choosing what they'd like to do when they get to high school, whether it's the participation in a sport, whether it is their club or service learning group, or if they're gonna have a free period or not. Most ninth graders don't have that unless they're on a sports team, just so you know. And this is also a time for a new journey. You know, for a lot of kids, it's maybe a fresh start. They might be known as one type of kid in middle school, and when they come to high school, they do kind of get to reinvent themselves, right? It is a fresh start. We don't hold anything against kids, and we also try to make sure that they know, hey, the slate is empty and it's clean. We talked a little bit about this, but just in terms of grades, and you know, we want the kids to make sure they have a positive experience. We don't want them to get overburdened with always having to check a list, having to get the good grade. We want them to make sure they get the most opportunity out of what we can offer here at Pacific Ridge. Peer-oriented, they're always going to care about their friends and what their peers do, but they are starting to crave more adult connections. You'll see it in the interactions that they have with the teachers. It will be a lot different than the interactions they have with their middle school teachers. And this is something that we really try to make sure they know about, and our teachers are really good with making sure those connections are built. Increasing in self-advocacy, our students are really good at speaking up for themselves, and that's something that we build into the school, and you know, we hope by the time they graduate from here, they're pretty close to being experts. Reflection does become easier, and this is, you know, they're still ninth graders, which is 8th grade, with just a few months added on to it, right? Reflection becomes easier, but it's still hard for them sometimes. It's still hard for them to think in the abstract terms. It's still hard for them to kind of say, I want to go from point A to point B, and they think that's the only path. They got to think around that. But these are some of the things that, you know, the journey for each ninth grader is going to be different. Speaking of different, what's different and what's the same? So, because we are a school, a unified school, we do have a lot of the same concepts and things for students and support. So, I'll start with the same part. The mission of the core academic structure is very similar, right? Again, classes will get harder. We have the same schedule. They're used to that. They know the mission of the school. The core values are the same, so they're going to hear the same types of things that they heard in middle school. We do have pretty much the same structures, they just appear differently. We have grade level teams in high school. They have grade level teams in middle school. If you're not familiar with that, this is a group of teachers who either teach or support your student for a whole grade, and we have meetings about the students. We get to know the students, whether you teach them or not, and understand, hey, this is what happens. This is how we can support your student. This is how we get to know your students, even if we don't teach them, just because we're talking about them and understanding this is how this student maybe interacts, or this is how this student learns. We also have advisory, just like in middle school, but it is a little different. When you come into upper school as a ninth grader, that person or that adult will stay with you until you graduate. So hopefully by the time you graduate, this is at least one trusted adult that you do have on campus that you can go to, like if something comes up, whether it's socially or you're having an issue with a teacher, or maybe you just want to catch up with the news that happened this past weekend. That is somebody that your child can go to. Accessibility of teachers. One example that I like to draw on is purpose period. Hopefully your students are telling you about purpose period in middle school. We still have purpose period in high school, but it is a little different. Right now in middle school, they kind of get called upon to go visit a teacher. There's a little list. It says, oh, Alfie has to go see Miss Grossman today. In high school, we ask the students to do that themselves. So they are starting to build that sense of advocacy and understanding, okay, I need help with my English, so I need to go see my English teacher. Or, okay, I need help with my math. And they also start to learn how to manage their time. We only have 40 minutes for that. So maybe they're like, okay, today is English and math. The next purpose period, which we have 2 per 6-day cycle, they recognize maybe I have to go to my world language teacher, and then I have to go to my, I don't know, elective teacher. But it's about that advocacy and time management. So what's different, again, some of the social and personal changes. Obviously, as the kids are getting older, bodies are changing, interests change, all the stuff that comes with that. Academic expectations, I think, are a little different here in high school. So again, students are starting to think that, hey, stuff is getting a little heavier. And that's okay, but we want them to recognize more about the opportunity and the experience. So how do we introduce our 9th graders to high school? This is actually, these are pictures from our current 9th grade class. We do have orientation in high school, just like middle school does. 9th grade orientation is a pretty big experience. They're pretty much, besides the seniors, the group that has like an all-day orientation. So it's pretty special. Usually they do a group activity on campus and then do an activity off campus. The past few years it's been bowling, they've done movie days. They also have a special, I think, experience. If you see on the bottom picture, the students in the light blue shirts, they actually get paired with what we call blue keys. So these are seniors on campus who have volunteered their time to be mentors to the 9th grade class. So the blue keys are some of the first people that they meet on orientation day, and the blue keys actually get assigned by advisory, so they have touch points throughout the year with all of the 9th graders. Some of those touch points could be social, some are, hey, when I was in the 9th grade, this is what I did my oration on, and I was super nervous, and this is how I got over it. So they're just kind of sharing their experience of what it means to be a high school student. And we've seen that it's pretty impactful, even though the kids will not admit it. It's pretty impactful because they are learning from somebody that they might look up to, or somebody that they want to emulate, like, oh, that's a cool senior, I want to do this, right? So it's all about the experience there. Orations is the 9th grade project. So it is an opportunity for students to give a persuasive speech. They actually do have to write a paper, and we've kind of gone back and forth. Sometimes they write the paper first, sometimes they write the paper after the speech, but it's all about being persuasive, figuring out how to put in sources to persuade your audience, and it really is a transformative experience. So we've got students who are terrified to speak in front of people, and then they blossom and become these students who, this is kind of typical, the first round is kind of, hey, giving your speech in front of an audience like this, and if you are chosen, you will give your speech in front of the whole school. So some of these pictures, this is actually orations from last year, the top, and you can kind of see what that looks like, and imagine being 14 years old and looking out at an audience like that. And I do want to share, it is something that is very structured and scaffolded throughout the year. So about 2 years ago, we started to do these activities where the students get to practice in smaller venues and smaller stakes. So the kind of the middle picture there is actually from this year's 9th grade class, where we had a poetry out loud event. So students are doing resuscitation throughout the year. So they'll have to learn poems, recite them. They will take excerpts from books, kind of memorize them, recite them, and they're doing this throughout the year to build up to this experience at the end of the year. And I just put up some of the past oration topics. So again, it is something that whatever students are interested in. We've had tons of topics, some are repeats. Actually like this one, anthropomorphism. and I had to really listen to the oration to learn what that meant. But it was actually, if you don't know, inanimate objects that have like human traits. And so the example the student gave is actually the student in the top picture there. They talked about some of the movies that the students watch and these inanimate objects like toasters or a little robot or a book that are talking and have feelings. And it was really, I think, insightful in a way that you find out, hey, a student is actually excited about this, and then other students listen, and it's just a phenomenal thing. I'll leave this up for a few seconds just so you can see, but we also added some of the student reflections on orations. These are from previous ninth graders who just shared their thoughts on the process. I'll share, while most students don't like to talk in front of an audience, we do find some that are like, yes, I get to grab the microphone and you've got to listen to me. So that's great too. So I do want to talk a little bit about at least the ninth grade trip. These are actually pictures from last year's ninth grade trip. So the ninth grade class actually travels to Sedona and the Grand Canyon. And it's one of those experiences similar to middle school where the whole grade travels together, but then they actually do get broken into groups. So we go through this process of choosing some of the groups. It could be friends. Some of the people in your group may not be friends. And it is a wonderful, exciting, and maybe nerve-wracking thing because they don't find out who their groups are until the day that they leave. So right before they're about to get on the bus or in the van, we tell them their groups and then say, go. But this is also one of those trips where I think they come back and they recognize that it is okay to open yourself up and figure out that, hey, maybe it's okay to make a new friend. We often see that these groups maybe get together again afterwards. I can speak because I have a current 10th grader too. Their group is on the bottom there, and they got together maybe 4 times this past summer. So once they got back, they didn't really want the trip to end, and they kept getting together. And their group is actually, as a collective, there are some pockets of maybe 2 or 3 friends in there, but if you looked at them, you'd be like, oh yeah, they don't hang out. They're not a friend group. But it's interesting to see how those interactions have changed since the trip. And when they see each other on campus now, you can tell that there is a bond built there. I just want to introduce this. This is something that is new. We started last year, so this thing called academies. One of the things that we wanted to hopefully get our students to see is that they do have a wealth of opportunity, and we wanted to see if they could kind of build this opportunity around some of the I think the vision and traits that we have here at the school. So those being service learning, global engagement, and civic leadership. So we created these academies with this thought in mind that, hey, if they take advantage of the current structures that we have and maybe make sure they concentrate on these threads, they might even get more out of the experience than they currently are. So just to kind of give you an idea, the components really focus on in-school experiences, so we're encouraging students when they choose their club or their service learning, if they want to participate in an academy, to make sure that those things are tied to like global engagement or civic leadership, right? And it's a big difference than, hey, I just signed up for the ping pong club and, I don't know, the knitting club, right? They don't really go together, they're probably fun, they may be one of your interests, but are you getting as much out of that as you could with something else? We've got out-of-school experiences, so our students, for example, in the Civic Leadership Academy, have traveled to Sacramento to actually visit senators and congressmen. And then our culminating experience is, remember I said we've got grade level projects. So for the senior year, we call it the senior seminar, and our hope is that they display or tell their peers about their experience in the academy. So the senior seminar is actually an opportunity for seniors to share an experience or an interest with the rest of the community. And we actually started this last year. We run it kind of like a conference. So 9th through 11th graders get to sign up for sessions that they'd like to go to. And this is an opportunity for the students to share. And our hope is that once our current 10th grade class gets to be seniors, they're gonna have all these activities that kind of tie to one of these academies that they're gonna be able to share. So it's just a new and different way for students to kind of recognize what we do have here at Pacific Ridge. I think that might be it for me. So now I'll bring Ms. Peabody up to talk a little bit about, sorry.
For the academies part, was that an optional thing or is it required of the students?
It is optional. So at the beginning of the year, we send out just an interest form for 9th graders. And right now, we're sending it out to 9th and 10th graders. Because as an 11th and 12th grader, you can't really meet the requirements. But every year we'll add the new 9th grade class for the opportunity to learn to enter one of those. And they will get a special designation if they meet all the requirements upon graduation. So it is something that kind of distinguishes them from their peers who have the same opportunity. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are there any plans to expand academics to other fields?
That's a good question. Did everybody hear that? Are there any plans to expand academies to other fields? I'd say the short answer is yes, probably. But since this is only 2 years old, we want to make sure we dial it in with these three. But I can tell you what we've been thinking about maybe. We are thinking about visual and performing arts, and we have been thinking a little bit about something STEM related. All right, Mrs. Peabody's up next.
Hi, everybody. So Alfie shared a lot of information. We wanted to keep this as informal as possible. So here I go with more presentations for you. But why don't you take a quick second and think and maybe share with the person you came with or someone next to you, what's something that you think that your child would be excited about in high school based on some of the experiences that Mr. Hobbs just shared? Because there are so many of upper school, ranging from our grade 9 Sedona trip to the structure of our schedule to academies. My role is really focused a lot more on academics. And so I will talk with you a little bit about our graduation requirements and highlight aspects of our academic program through looking at specific student schedules. So we have some fairly typical aspects to our graduation requirements. I think it's important to note that, if you're sitting in this room, I'm sure you have wonderful hopes and dreams for your children, as we all do. And these graduation requirements meet and exceed those requirements for any of our UC or Cal State schools. So I'll just share that on the front end. What this looks like from each subject point of view is we have a nice continued progression from middle school. So with regards to English, all students will take English 9 and English 10. They have tremendous choice in 11th and 12th grade in terms of what English courses that they may take. Similarly in history, 9th grade history is a standard experience for all of our students, but we begin to introduce some choice starting in 10th grade. Science, we have both an honors and a college preparatory science course available to students in 9th and 10th grade. and tons of elective opportunities for them in 11th and 12th grade. You'll note that there are those white boxes that say elective, which means that they can fill that however they choose. So many of our students choose to double on a subject that they find of particular interest. We do have some general elective courses as well that sit outside of our standard disciplines. We require 2 years of arts. Many of our students choose to continue to pursue arts throughout all 4 years. Math, we require 3 years. We encourage 4, same thing with world language. And our students take PE in 9th and 10th grade, with 1 trimester of health in 10th grade as well. One thing to note with PE, I think that Alfie mentioned that sometimes students have a free period if they play a sport. So if a student is an athlete, the season that they play a sport, they are awarded their PE credit through playing that sport for PRS. And that means that they end up with a study hall during the day, which helps them balance their workload. So I'm going to take us through a couple of student schedules, just so that you can kind of see what it might look like in real time. The schedules that I'm sharing with you are actually student schedules of some of our seniors from last school year. I think that looking at these student schedules really tells you a lot about our students' interests. So when Alfie talked to you about academies, that is starting your 4 years with greater intentionality than these students had, because we didn't have academies when they were here. However, you can see that they've sort of made something for themselves through the choices that they have made. So this student, very interested in theater, and so you can see that she continued to study theater for 3 years and pursued arts in her 4th year through AP Art History. She's very committed to the humanities, and so you can see that through taking AP US History in 11th grade, she ended up doubling on social sciences in 12th grade with Asian American and Pacific Islander Studies, as well as theories of social change. And down here in the bottom in yellow, these are her co-curriculars. So those are like the clubs and service learning groups that she was a part of. You can see that a lot of social justice is important to this student, and feminism, and improv, and theater. So I just think that we can see the uniqueness that comes through in our students. We really encourage students when they're making their course selections to be choosing rigor in their schedule in the areas that are of greatest interest to them. Because while we can stack APs all day long, we want students to be spending time on the things that they really enjoy and that bring them joy, so that school is not drudgery. This is a different kind of student who happened to be best friends, I think, with the last one. However, you will note that this is a STEM kid. So this student he doubled on AP Physics and AP Biology in 11th grade, and took AP Chem in 12th grade. And you'll note that he did not take Honors Science 9 or Science 10. Our program really is one that is built on trying to provide opportunity and access for our students. So while we do have Honors Science 9 and 10 currently offered, our courses are structured such that they can enter honors and AP courses in 11th and 12th grade while taking college preparatory courses in 10th grade. This student also loved math, and I think managed to take just about every single advanced math course that we offer. So his interests in math and science are well reflected as well in his co-curriculars, and you see his service learning in alternate energy sources. So the windmill that you see outside over by the middle school that actually generates power is something that that service learning group is responsible for. And this is going to be the last one that I share with you. Kind of a different story altogether. So this student, when I talked to her, she said that taking a STEAM course was really pivotal for her. So our STEAM courses are electives that are trimester based, and students can mix and match those trimesters however they wish. So the ones that she took one trimester of entrepreneurship and venture capital, one of industrial design, and one of product design. And what she shared with me was, at the beginning of her junior year, she thought, well, maybe I would be interested in business, but maybe I might be interested in engineering. I'm not really sure. And she felt that through that experience, hands-on learning was something that really was important to her. She coupled STEAM with AP Environmental Science, but through her participation in STEAM, she really found a renewed interest in STEM. And so she chose to double up on physics and engineering design in her senior year. She's a very balanced kind of student, and so you can see that she's a very talented musician. And again, as noted in other areas, those interests are reflected both in her academic program as well as in her co-curricular choices. So while we may not have an academy for visual and performing arts, students can make these choices to be able to develop and hone those interests, to be able to find leadership opportunities in their co-curriculars and really make something special for themselves. So we do have tremendous offerings in different areas in our academic program. And I thought these 3 stories kind of highlight the different pathways that students might take. As the students move forward and they make their choices for scheduling, one thing that I do want to note that is different than in middle school is that our advisory program is one that loops, which means that the advisory that the students are placed in 9th grade is the same advisory that they will have in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So the advisor ends up being somebody who knows your students really, really well. And when it comes time for them to do their course selections, we actually meet as grade level teams of advisors. We review the selections that students are making. We make sure that kids are making choices that are appropriate for them, so that they're not taking on too big of a challenge in one area and not another. And maybe they might need a little bit of a nudge to take a bigger challenge in one area if they're playing it a little safe. So I guess that might conclude my portion. Are there any questions for me about academic program? Yes?
So I don't have any kids in high school, so this is all new to me, but one thing I've heard from other PRS parents that have kids that have gone through is that they feel that maybe the AP selection is a little light. And so relative to other schools, and I was just curious if there was any plan to expand that, or if you have any opinion on how it compares to other schools.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can give you a comparative kind of response. I will say that we have quite a few AP offerings in each of our subject areas. And every year we have the opportunity to put new course proposals on the table. One thing that I would say is that the AP label is not something that we feel like we need to really champion at PRS. We have many honors courses that are wonderful, rigorous opportunities for students as well. And so when you start coupling the AP offerings with the honors offerings, there are really tons and tons of choices, and I can actually speak with greater specificity, I suppose, here. So like, these are our English courses. We have 2 AP courses in English, and we have honors courses. In history, we have AP US History and we have AP Gov. Science, we have APs in all of the hard sciences as well as in engineering, in environmental science, and really advanced offerings in math. I don't think I've ever worked at a school, this is my 4th school, that has more advanced offerings in mathematics. And we have APs in each of our world languages. So I guess what's important for me to say is that while we may not have, 30 different AP offerings, we have many different opportunities for rigor in our schedule. And the way in which students choose to combine those courses is what makes kind of the whole picture for our students, so that they can remain competitive as they move into the next phase, but also so that they're nurturing their own interests in meaningful ways. Yeah?
What are students making their selections, or I guess when are you getting greater their selections for the next
That's a great question. So I will meet with the 8th graders, I believe at the end of January. It might be in February. So around that time. And then they will choose an arts course. The placement for math and science, where they have opportunities to move into honors courses, as well as in world language, those are done separately with their teachers. And so they're placed on the basis of their teacher recommendation. So sometimes kids don't realize that they're actually already being programmed into the next course in the sequence, but they will be choosing their arts courses in kind of January, February. Yes.
Excuse me. I don't have this, this will be our first child since she's in high school, but for AP versus honors.
Yeah.
Does honors, if you're in honors, does that affect your GPA differently than AP?
No, they're the same.
So, because there is a whole, like if you have an AP class, you have potential to have a higher GPA, but same with honors, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay. Just labeled differently.
It's labeled differently. So the main difference for me is that an AP course is subject to an external curriculum, right? So the teachers have to follow that AP syllabus, and it culminates in an external exam that the students will sit. Whereas in an honors course, teachers have more flexibility to be able to adjust the curriculum to meet the needs of their students, going deeper in areas of interest to that particular group of students, or holding a little bit. So it's more customized, but equally rigorous. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to pass it to Ms. Petrella.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. I don't know if we announced at the top that this slide deck will be sent to you by additions after. I know that a lot of you are capturing the screens that jump out to you. I want to reiterate, my name is Teresa Petrella. I lead a department of 4 full-time college guidance counselors, and our office is right up there at the crossroads of the upper school. And when Teresa was talking about the weight of the courses and the count of APs, I've worked at a number of independent schools. And I worked at La Jolla Country Day back in the day when people would say, well, how come Country Day is 23 and Bishop's has 27? And what I would always say in that conversation is, when you look at the overall offerings of any school, there is only so many slots any student can fill in their grid, right? Teresa showed you the schedule. It's a 6-day rotation. And in places where I've worked that have AP bio and honors bio, colleges understand our context, that these courses are weighted the same. And so if I'm someone who loves biology, I might not charge first into AP bio. I might want more flexibility to explore a topic of interest in the conversation at the Harkness table or in the lab, instead of someone saying, well, you know, that's great, super interesting, but we have a test in 3 weeks and we have to get through this curriculum. So that's how I sort of discern the difference between honors and AP in terms of they're rigorous in different ways, and one is less rigid than the other. And I think that AP can dominate the conversation because it's a trademark. It's a quality control. And I would have that concern if I were going to a school that colleges didn't understand, right? Because then I'd be leaning very heavily on that. So as we know, there's a lot of running from APs. Because if I were working at Country Day today, I don't think people would say, why do you have 21 and Bishop's now has 0? Explain yourself, okay? So I wanted to give you just a snapshot of where we are in December with our current Firebirds. 3 of our panelists tonight are current seniors, still standing upright, eating empanadas, enjoying, making stars to celebrate their acceptances to colleges. They're starting to roll in. It's very early for us to know. Early decision, for those of you familiar. How many sitting here have had a high school graduate? Okay. Have had someone graduate from Pacific Ridge? Okay. Okay, so some of this will be a repeat to you, but it's typical each year that a little more than a third of the class would apply restrictive early action or early decision. And so most of those decisions are sitting out there. A lot of students have been accepted already to a college. And we typically have a profile of about a dozen visual performing artists applying with portfolio or applying to audition as part of their admission process. And this year, 5 recruited athletes across those sports. And I threw in the 2 aspiring pilots because that's kind of different for this year. And for those of you who might not know, QuestBridge is a fully funded scholarship program that is supported by a number of the most highly selective schools. And it's a need-based scholarship that fully covers a student. So how do we get there? Just want to share with you a little bit of the scaffolding here. And I'm not sure, is Dave back? Oh, is there sort of a separate opportunity to talk about college guidance throughout the admission process that these folks will be privy to, or no? Okay. So what you should know as parents who are here at school and who read e-news and get through that every week is that the white programs on this slide are all school programs. Meaning, if you're a middle school parent and you're very curious about the process and the topics that attend it, we want to see you at these programs. We start to scaffold in the 9th and 10th grade with a little bit of context. So yesterday, we introduced ourselves to the 9th graders. We applauded that they're the envy of the upper school because they don't have to worry about standardized testing. They just have to try to be present in their 9th grade experience. We asked them to reflect, which is something they will be asked to continue to do in increasing intervals throughout their upper school experience. But to think about, did you set any goals or have any expectations coming into 9th grade? How is that going for you? What is one habit that you are pressing on that you haven't had to press on before? How are you using your purpose period now that someone's given you the freedom to decide? Right, so starting to ask them about what is looking different for you in the 9th grade. What are you learning about yourself as we lead up to halftime here? And are there any changes underfoot as you start to look at the second part of this year? What are you trying that you haven't tried before? So we start with 9th grade visiting in the winter, and then again in the spring, in small groups. And then in the 10th grade, we're going to visit with them more often. So about 4 times. We'll do some practice testing, but most importantly, when the standardized testing report comes back, we'll walk them through why it's a tool to help them make future decisions. So we build on this programming, and what you see in the bottom right are topics that we treat almost like a book club. Sometimes we'll have a speaker, sometimes we'll read a book as a community and just have a conversation about it. So this could be about the teenage brain, this could be about the paradox of choice, because there are, Ella, how many 4-year colleges and universities are there in the United States, would you say? A lot.
Thousands, right? Okay. And we talk about, the cost of higher ed and how you discuss this as a family, right? So once we are through 9th and 10th grade, it gets more frequent. And we are doing an assessment called U-Science. What are your aptitudes, your strengths? They take a survey that's extensive at the beginning of junior year, gives them a report, not a prescription, a report on different careers that might link with strengths and aptitudes, or majors that might link. We recently had an Ignite career fair for the juniors. So we continue to scaffold in ways that are adjacent and supportive
of decisions students are making as they're choosing their courses, because all of the growth does not happen in the classroom. And these are teaching skills that are no longer called soft skills. These are central to students figuring out eventually what they'll major in college and looking forward to all types of careers. So having the opportunity and the flexibility to experiment a little bit, to try something and maybe not like it and turn a corner is alive and well here. As is celebration, as are application workshops. They have the support from junior year on with every piece they're going to encounter in a college admission process. And also to make it a student-centered process. So we never start a conversation with the student with the name of the school. We start with the student in our office. They do surveys for the college guidance office starting in sophomore year. Their first individual meeting with their college counselor is in spring of sophomore year. And family meetings are unlimited and always welcome. So as recently, counselors are brought into universities often to do a visit and understand curriculum on campuses and program. And FYE stands for first year experience. So for those of you not familiar with NACE, National Association of Colleges and Employers, what are the skills that are necessary to thrive in college, and how are these related? Nurtures habits that take students through life and into leadership, and into open-mindedness, and into their curiosity. So this is kind of a tireless faculty place to work, which is a joy for our office. Our individual student to counselor ratio in college guidance is about 30 students to each counselor, which is a luxury because it means whenever a student wants to stop into our office and talk to us, or maybe whenever they're avoiding our office, we can find them, right? So we just look at these aspects because I look at communication, critical thinking as key to why students want to sit around the Harkness table, even when they're active listeners, right? They're gaining something from it. We have college reps who come to our school and express that they feel like they need to be on their toes when they come to Pacific Ridge. We've had people who have scheduled us on their second round of visits because they're like, "Whew, I don't think I know my stuff well enough to sit down with the kids." They are like coming at us. They're always with the questions. So I just wanted to just kind of line those up side by side, because on the right-hand side, I really do see the aspects we're going after when we ask students, do you want to choose an academy? Which group in service learning do you want to work with? What do you want to talk about in oration? Who do you want to interview for your future focus interview junior year? So that's a little bit of a blur. But for those of you who haven't seen us on the parent portal in Veracross, this is how you kind of can explore what we're up to and read ahead and contact us with any questions. We're happy to hear from you. Are there any questions I can answer before I turn it over to Liz Grossman? Well, I'll be back. Change your mind.
Well, that's a good way to start. Drop my glasses. Usually I lose them about 2 times a day. Will our 4 fabulous Firebirds come on up? You're going to have a chance to hear from our group. We're going to do, I'm going to ask some questions and they're going to answer and share the mic for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have some time for you to ask some questions, and then we'll close out the program. To start us off, please say your name, the grade that you're in, and an activity that you really enjoy at Pacific Ridge.
My name is Tiernan. I'm in grade 12, and one activity that I really enjoy at Pacific Ridge is theater.
My name is Sienna. I'm in grade 12, and one activity I really enjoy is lacrosse.
My name's Ella. I'm a senior also, and one activity that I really enjoy is I founded a mental health awareness club on campus, so I really enjoy that.
I'm Henry. I'm in 10th grade, and I love Model UN and science.
This first question goes to Henry, because you're a 10th grader and closer to middle school than our other seniors, but here's the question. Our audience members may be wondering about the similarities and differences between middle school and upper school. Can you describe something that has been consistent for you from middle school to upper school? And conversely, can you describe a positive difference between the middle and upper schools? And if anyone wants to chime in, please go ahead.
Yeah, of course. So I'd say probably one of the biggest things that stayed consistent is the support of the community. Like I say, I mean, just physically, our campuses are so connected, middle school and high school. Like, I have a brother in 8th grade, and I see him almost every day, and always say hi to him. And I'm able to build connections with faculty and with students across grade levels. And I feel like the student support really has not changed at all. And I think going from middle school to high school, and especially in a traditional sense, where you have like another campus and a whole blank slate, like Mr. Hobbs was talking about, it is a blank slate. You get to start over, you get to make your own high school experience yours, but the student support within the community that's super, super tight, being a small school, and the support you get consistently from teachers throughout purpose periods and in all your classes was super refreshing. And that's something that stayed, like, something that changed a lot, but was very easy to manage with, but was a big change, was the new choice that I had coming into high school. Specifically, I'd say the 5th period, which is the co-curricular block. In middle school, you rotate through a bunch of different co-curriculars to kind of expose you to a bunch of different groups and a bunch of different programs. And then when you get to high school, you have a 5th period, which is your co-curricular period. You get to choose a wide variety of things you want to do. And I found that awesome. And I think it's scaffolded really well. Going from the middle school, you're exposed to a variety of different service learnings and different clubs and different arts and a bunch of different programs. And then in high school, you get to choose what you want to do. And I've chosen Model UN. I love Model UN. I'm in a service learning dedicated to veterans. And I think the co-curricular selections are super special.
Do you want to add something else?
No.
Oh, okay. Next question. How have expectations for Harkness changed as you've moved through grades 9, 10, 11, and 12?
Okay, so as someone who came in 9th grade who was like completely new to the idea of Harkness, I think immediately there were a lot of expectations. I think in 9th grade, it was a lot more like you were learning kind of the way of Harkness and the discussion. I was learning a new way that I never encountered before in middle school. And I think that as grades progress, as someone now who's on her 4th year doing Harkness discussions and in more advanced classes, I think the depth of the connections that you make with other people develops completely. I mean, you have to make so much more complex ideas, especially in English classes, and you really learn to connect off of what other people are saying rather than adding in your own input, which really helps to tie the discussion all together.
Yeah, so I also came in 9th grade, and I would say the biggest differences between when you first start out doing Harkness is I had never done anything similar to a Harkness before coming to Pacific Ridge. Like in my classes, it was very much lecture style. We just listened in the back of the class and took notes, and being forced to kind of sit at a round table, look everyone in the eye was a completely new experience for me. And I think it absolutely is like the reason that I'm able to hold conversation now, and I'm able to not be afraid to participate in group conversations. And I think at the beginning, it's obviously very scary, especially if you're not used to it, to speak up in class, but you get more comfortable, you get closer with the people in your classes, and sitting around that table also is very much a community building activity. Everyone gets closer and everyone is not afraid to share their opinions. By the end of the year, you can see the growth happen. And I think even now, I mean, Mrs. Grossman is my Hamlet teacher this year, and we have just had some amazing discussions in class. We, usually start with reading a passage from the book that we're working on, and or we'll have a discussion question or kind of a theme to guide our conversation, and everyone just kind of starts and runs with this idea. People pull in their own experiences, their own knowledge, their background information, textual evidence. Like it could go so many different ways. Sometimes it's like we have trouble stopping the conversation in class because everyone is just adding their ideas in, and it's just like, it's a really like good conversation is the best way I can describe it.
I love that class.
Me too.
So, as someone who struggled with social anxiety before, Harknesses were, when I first joined, it was very challenging for me. Obviously, I'm not struggling with that as much because I'm speaking in front of all of you. But I think that the PRS community is just so strong and so supportive of each other, and that Harknesses are just such a really good environment for cultivating like the confidence to speak and to be proud of your ideas and to really just share what's on your mind, share all of your ideas, all of your connections, and show off what you've learned and what you know.
Thank you. Next question. In what ways are your interests reflected in the courses that you've taken?
Okay, I'll start with this one. My interests are quite diverse. I'm very STEM oriented. I really focus on math and sciences, but I'm also very performing arts oriented. As you heard earlier, I said I'm very interested in theater. I'm also interested in singing in choir, and so I think what's really great about the PRS classes and having such a diverse range of classes that you can attend, I got to explore a lot of these interests through my coursework, and I got to go really deep into math. Right now I'm in differential equations, explore different physical sciences with AP chemistry, AP physics, and then also become more comfortable with singing in front of a crowd with normal vocal ensemble and honors vocal ensemble. And really just the diversity of classes at PRS is what allowed that to happen for me.
So me personally, I'm very interested in psychology and neuroscience, and also more of a science track with psychology. So last year I took AP psychology, and this year I'm taking AP biology and anatomy. And then also, as Ella brought up, I was also one of the beginning leaders of this mental health awareness club, and so I think that PRS provides so many opportunities, especially with fifth period and co-curriculars and things like that, where you can create. If you have a passion, there is a place for you to put that out into the community and to let other people find space within your passion, and you can educate. And the things that we have done, September we brought in a mental health awareness speaker, and he spoke to the whole school about the importance of validating your mental health. And so I think this just getting to have everybody come together and learn that it's okay to recognize your struggles and to ask for help. I think just seeing everyone in a community is another reason why I would absolutely love to continue to do this for the rest of my life.
So as far as the courses that I've taken that's reflected my interests, I've always been very much a reading, writing person. I've always had that kind of brain, that mindset. And junior year I took AP psychology, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I was just shocked. Everything that we were learning I was so interested in, and especially junior year being a very formative year as far as thinking about what I want to major in and what I want to pursue in my future. It really got me thinking about what is it about psychology that makes me so passionate, what is so engaging to me. And this year, fortunately, I was also able to take a STEAM course. So that's basically it's separated into trimesters, and there's a lot of different opportunities for classes you can take. I'm personally taking more of the business type STEAM classes. So the first trimester I have modern markets, which is basically intro to the stock market. Now this trimester, second trimester, I'm learning about entrepreneurship and venture capital, which has just started, but essentially at the end of the trimester, we're going to present a business idea if we were to start a business in front of Shark Tank professionals and present our business they're venture capital investing in our business. And so it's been so interesting to learn about. And then third trimester is marketing and advertisement, so I'm super excited for that one as well. But I decided to major in business, and I also am finding ways to incorporate my love for psychology into my business major, and working with people and the connections in like the workforce is really what like I'm passionate about. And so I think PRS, the course load, and also just the engagement with the small class sizes and the amount of connection you're able to have with your teacher absolutely allows you to customize your learning and what you want to go after, what you're passionate about. Like, it's like, for me, it's like I'm passionate about business. I get to take my business classes, but I also get to take the psychology classes and figure out how to blend that together in like business management, how to figure out how to blend everything I'm passionate about into one thing.
I'll go real quick. I would for sure echo everything that's been said before. I've always been like a super math and science focused kind of person, and I love all my classes right now. I don't have as much choice, but I'm looking forward to more choice in the future. And I want to talk really briefly about my art selection. I'm in dance, which is not a popular choice for boys at all. I am one of 2 male dancers, and there's I think like upwards of like 70 to 100 girls probably, so we're by far outnumbered. I love it. It is one of my favorite classes, and I have it in the middle of the day, and it's super relaxing, super fun. Me and the other dancer, we've gotten super close, and we've had a lot of fun. And I'm only in dance because of the middle school rotations. I was placing it first trimester of 8th grade, and I loved it when I connected with it. And the dance teacher kind of took me under her wing, and it's been a super special experience for me.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask 2 of you to respond to the next question, and it can be any one of you. Tell us about a time when you felt you were challenged academically. How did you persist through this challenge, and in what ways did teachers or the structure of our schedule help you persevere through that challenge?
Okay, so unlike other people up here, I am the farthest thing from a math person. It is not my strong suit, never has been, but I still like to challenge myself. So I'm in AP Calc AB this year, wild choice. And think about it every time I walk in that class. And so when I had my first unit test and I had 5 minutes left with 5 problems blank, I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of like, what am I doing here? I need to rethink what my decisions were. And so after that, I remember talking to my teacher, Miss King, she's amazing. And she was like, just come meet with me before school, come to purpose period, you can stay after school, like do all of these things. And so I started doing that. I would meet with her before school sometimes, I'd go to purpose period, I would do all these things, and all of a sudden things started to make more sense because of the way that like, you just need to find the time and just the reason to reach out and ask for help, because the teachers and everyone is always there to help you. And so I've already seen like so much progress just because I decided to ask for help. And so that also was a lesson learned, being like, it's not a weakness to feel like you need help. It's more of a strength to have that confidence to reach out and ask for it.
For me, I've always really struggled with writing. I struggle to come up with words that I can put down on the page, and find it a hard medium to express myself and express my ideas and thoughts. However, in all of my English classes that I've had such amazing teachers that have always been there to support me. I will come during purpose periods, I'll ask if I can meet them before or after school, and they'll always be there and they'll be willing to help me. And it's really, I feel like I couldn't have done it without any of them. Yeah, and the support that teachers give us at PRS is it's such a valuable thing. I think it's what makes this school such a valuable school. And I'm glad that I got to share with all of you that this has been, that teachers at PRS are so great, so that when your kids choose to go to high school at PRS, they can rest assured that they will be supported throughout their journey.
Okay, Ella and Henry, this next question goes to you. Each grade has a grade level project, you've heard about orations, that allows our students to do something beyond a typical project in an academic course. Tell us about one of your grade level projects, when you completed it, so like at which grade, and what you learned from the project or process about yourself.
So in 9th grade, we have the Orations project, which is essentially a big public speaking topic where students, freshmen, get to pick a topic that they're passionate about. It could be literally anything, and you present it to a group of students of all different grades and faculty. And so I have always been really passionate about camping. I love the outdoors, I love camping. And so I just knew that I wanted to do my project on, or my oration on that, and talking about the benefits of being in nature and all of that. So obviously, as a freshman, it was absolutely terrifying to go talk to all these older kids about a topic. You memorize the entire speech, and I think you're allowed like 1 or 2 note cards, and you spend a very long time in your English classes, and you also have time, grade level project time dedicated to memorizing it, writing it, revising it. You get a lot of help from your teachers. And then you have this big thing at the end of the year where you like perform it, and then a couple of the finalists are chosen to go on to present it to the entire school. So I was chosen to give it to the entire school, and I was so terrified because it was really scary to do, but I genuinely think that that speech helped me so much, preparing for that speech, learning how to memorize a speech and articulate myself in a way when I forget what I'm saying, how to kind of get back on track. It definitely helped me learn those skills, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, looking back on orations, I'm super grateful that was an opportunity that I had. It was super, it was nerve-wracking. And I remember specifically, I can still remember the week before my orations. I think probably the hardest week I've had of school ever. And I'm sure that will be replaced in the future. But that week was tough. I can remember having to crunch together, and I was still changing my oration the week before. And I had a long topic. I think my original draft was 20 minutes, and it's supposed to be 5 minutes. So I had to find a way to cut 3/4 of my oration and condense it and memorize it. And the way it was scaffolded and the script was super supportive during it all, and I loved the process. And I got to the end and I felt super, super happy about all of it. And I think one of the most special things about it is the fact that it's released pretty early in the English year. You work on it for a long time with your classmates. I was able to get super close to a lot of people in my English class. We're all in this together, we're doing this, let's go. And I even talked to those people about the oration. I can remember all the orations I saw. Orations are super, super, it's a super special opportunity we have.
Henry, you just started thinking about or hearing about the 10th grade memorial project. Have you begun your thinking about that? Or is it still a little too early?
It was rolled out to us recently. I'm super excited about it. I've heard it's a super cool project. Every year I see a new one down under the stairs, because basically the memorial project, you create a project dedicated to an event or a person or something that's happened in the past, and you present it, you create a plan for an actual memorial to be built, and you present it, and then the winner, one person in the grade gets chosen to actually build a memorial that sits under our stairs. And the sophomores, last year's sophomores, when I was freshman talking to them at the end of the year, they loved that project. I'm super excited about it. I already have some ideas. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. All right, our final question before we open it up to our wonderful guests. And sorry, Henry, you can participate. Has to do with college. What has been your experience with learning about engaging with the college application process? And what have you found most supportive in this process? And if you could focus your answers on your work with our college guidance department.
I can start with this one. So they start you off with college guidance in freshman year just to basically let you know, do not stress about this, don't worry, take as many things as you can, find your passions, enjoy, but there really is no pressure to start thinking about that, which I really, really appreciate, because if you look on social media or you hear about other schools, there's a lot of that pressure coming in, but you don't need to be worried about that freshman year. Sophomore year, they are a little bit more inclined, but their energy is going mostly towards the juniors and seniors, and then juniors and seniors is where you have your one-on-one meetings and you get assigned a personal counselor. My counselor is Miss Singh, and she is absolutely amazing. I have nothing but the best things to say. I've never gotten an outside of school counselor. I've never needed one. She has been there absolutely every time I've needed her to set up meetings, to help me create my college list. I'm one of the most indecisive people I've ever met, and so it was really hard for me to come down with the college list. But she always knew what to give me as far as resources, what to tell me, and how to follow up and make sure that I was on the right path and that I wasn't stressing myself out for no reason. Because it is a stressful process, but with how much support that we get.
This is mostly for seniors, is going into summer before senior year, you have college launch, where they basically set you up for Common App that opens on August 1st, and like all of these things, because you need to basically, like, they give you a lot of suggestions, like you should start during the summer so you don't get behind, and then you can check in, and then there's Camp College before senior year at the end of summer, where it's basically like you sit and you learn and you write and you learn all these things that I never would have known if it wasn't for college guidance. And so I think because of all the resources that you get, I was very early in finishing my process because I had so much support and so much organization that I had a very smooth application process because I had so much support. And so it was just a very simple process for me. Not simple, but it was a smooth process for me thanks to college guidance.
Yeah, so I also have Ms. Singh as a college guidance counselor, and she's really amazing, and so are the rest of all of our college guidance counselors. They're always there to support. If you are struggling with something, they're patient with you and they'll help you through it. Any part of the college process, they'll be there to help you through it. And yeah, other thing, working during summer is very important on the college process. I would just want to let you guys know that before you start sending your kids off into high school. But yeah, if you're, sorry, no matter where you are in the college process, your college guidance counselor is always going to be there to help you. I've never needed support outside of PRS from anyone except for maybe my parents, which I'm very grateful to. And yeah, they'll be there with you every step of the way. They'll help you through it, and they know exactly what's going to come and how to help you through the process.
Thank you. Henry, you looking forward to it?
Yes.
Would love to open up to the audience any questions you might have for our panel.
Did you need to go outside of school to do any, I don't know, social work or any extracurricular activity or something to support your application and resume into the college?
Yeah, so as someone who's been involved in the theater program these last 3 years, and yeah, just as a senior in general, I haven't really needed to go outside of PRS to search for activities. The theater program here and the theater community is very supportive and welcoming to any newcomers. And there are just so many different opportunities here at school. There's academic league, there's robotics, there's a bunch of different sports, there's all of the theater and theatrical programs. And then there's also all of the clubs, service learnings, and affinity and alliance groups. And all of that will go on your college application as extracurriculars that you have done. And so while it is nice to, and you can totally go outside of the school for any extracurricular activities, you never really need to. We have a lot of different activities here.
No, yeah, just adding on to that, I completely agree. I haven't needed to go outside of school for anything. We have, like, that's one of the things I love about the school so much is that our 5th period block, like your volunteer work, your interests, your clubs is literally built into the schedule. You don't need to meet after school. You don't need to invest more time. It's in our schedule, which I absolutely love about this school. We have so many opportunities for different passions as far as service learning and projects. I mean, from like I've been in so many different service learnings, from like gender equality to like Best Buddies, which is like partnering with a local middle school, starting my own clubs, there's so many opportunities that you don't really need to. The only outside of school like volunteer work that I'm in is like Girl Scouts, but I've been doing that since like kindergarten. So other than that, I mean, yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I'd love to know more about this fifth period and how it works and how you select your.
Okay, so our schedule is like, it's numbered. We have odd days and even days. So fifth period is on an odd day, and our schedule is a little confusing as a freshman. It took me a while to figure out. But basically, fifth period, so all of our blocks are an hour and 15 minutes, and fifth period is split. It can be split into two. Like two, it's like 35, 40 minutes, like different halves. And basically, it is a time where if you want to join a club, then that's the time that you do it. So there's like A, C, and then like E days, and it's at a different time every day. So different clubs meet on each of the days. So there's clubs that take up the full hour, and then clubs that take up half. So there's clubs, service learning, and affinity alliance groups. So clubs are probably most common. Like there's the most of the clubs. There's a lot of clubs, and you can start clubs for any of your passions. And then there's service learnings, which is a lot more like volunteer work, which is like what Ella was saying. And then affinity and alliance groups. So I'm in one called Feminists United. So it's one of the biggest groups on campus, and it's just people who would call themselves a feminist. And so they meet during those periods. And so some are an hour 15, some are half the blocks, and yeah.
During that time, we also have a kind of a study hall. We call it grade level project time. And that's a time when students can work on their grade level projects, or student support will come in and do a session on procrastination, which is happening right now. I can't remember which grade level, all kinds of things. And so every student is scheduled into that. Yes?
Is that fifth period complete choice, or like do they have to take one service learning and one, like is there a requirement for that in fifth period?
There is a 2-year service learning graduation requirement. And so students will be in that for 9th and 10th grade, but they could absolutely continue in 11th and 12th grade and develop their leadership skills, and perhaps that's something that's really important to them, and they can write about that on their college application, make connections with other people. Beyond that, they are scheduled into this study hall / grade level project time, but beyond that, it's whatever they want to do as long as there aren't any conflicts. Well, our great Dr. Ogle is waiting in the wings. He'd like to say a few words. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, good evening. How are you? Good to see you. We're almost there. I have 4 jobs. One is to make sure we thank all these good people. So please, let's recognize it's Thursday night. They have a ton of homework. Before you, please thank all the adults that are here as well. So accomplished job number 1. Job number 2 is to present you with a little bit of information from a numbers perspective about that for school. Job number 3 is to tell you a story or two, and job number 4 is to get you out on time. I'm not going to get you out on time, but I will be quick. I assure you. Okay, so first of all, these are some things I think that you may be interested in. I'm just going to blow through some numbers just to give you a sense of what the upper school is in terms of from just a pure numerical perspective. I track these things and look at these things because in the end, following numbers matters. It tells you a bit of sense of the consistency, it tells you about the success of a place, it tells you what to be looking for. So here are things I'm going to show you. Grade and school size, something to looking at. Advanced placement AP test scores. Why am I showing you those? Not because they matter so much, but because they are a comparable piece of data that shows something about our instruction. That's the only reason why I'm sharing that. Does that make sense? I'm going to be sharing class size. It means the size of a class in the average class of a school so how many students are in the classroom the students go into. Oh, and then I'm going to give you the history of PRS graduating classified the numbers, which is going to be, I think, interesting. So here we go. Grade school size. This is our high school this year. These are the grades we have in the class size that adds up to 406 students. You'll notice that we have a small class of 82 in the 10th grade. It's the smallest class we've had in some time, and we don't anticipate that happening again. But that becomes relevant for your 8th graders experience in a couple of years. I'll show you why. So this is what we are projecting for the ninth grade next year, based on early knowledge of what we're seeing from an admissions perspective and everything else. We expect to have around 110 ninth graders, and then it sort of tracks from there. If you follow this grid, what this thing does is it sort of follows a grade by color. If that makes sense. You can see where our grade's going, so it kind of goes this way. So basically, your eighth graders will become ninth graders in a class of roughly 110. And the class at high school will be 402 that year. The second year, we always expect things to go down a little bit. That's just what happens. We expect to go down 108, once again, just modeling, and the high school will be 401. Now, what's interesting is that during their junior year, we expect our high school to grow. Why? Because that smaller grade will graduate out. And so the high school is going to move from, we'll probably move from basically in the low 400s to the mid 420s during their junior year, because you can see this class will actually graduate out, and then all the other classes will be around 100. That's our expectation. This is what we expect to see happen. And then finally, we expect to graduate around 107 students. Who knows? But this is modeled the way we expect to see it. I share this with you to share that this is the high school size we expect the high school to be during your 4 years, your students of 4 years. Make sense? That's some information. Sure. What do you got? Question?
For the 82 last year when they were in ninth,
yes.
Were they also small, or was there a strong decrease in?
They were small in ninth grade. They entered as a small ninth grade. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that I can go into, but they entered as a small ninth grade, and they actually, I think they held exactly the same. I think they were 82 as a ninth grader, and they're 82 as sophomores. So there you go. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so next thing, advanced placement scores. Again, why am I showing this? This show because people want to know, is our instruction quality, how is it compared to various things? Here's what I can show you. These are our last 5 years of our AP pass rate. You see there's remarkable consistency. I frankly think that this one up here is never going to happen again, but yay for us, that was great. And we'll see how that goes. If you know APs, essentially they're scored on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scale. 3, 4, and 5 is considered passing, so all these are basically scores that are over 3. If you want to get more data in deeply into it, this shows you how many students in the school, mostly juniors and seniors, took APs. Notice it's always been expanding a little bit. The number of exams that were actually taken, the number of AP students with 3+ scores, and those percentages we're talking about. Make sense? Now, sometimes people are very interested in the 4s and 5s. Some people don't think 3s matter. I don't think the AP says it's passing, so there you go. If you want to know what the 4s and 5s were, our 4s and 5s, 70.7% of our tests that we're taking were 4s and 5s. So the most common scores in the school were 4s and 5s. Actually, I didn't look it up this year to see if 5 was more common than 4. Usually 5 is the most common, but I didn't look at it this year. But this is the general where we are. Questions on AP scores? Question about APs. There's always questions about APs. You don't have questions about APs. You already had questions about APs. Okay, what do you got?
How many AP courses do you allow? I mean, is there a limit? This is the maximum number of courses?
We allow juniors to take 3 and seniors to take up to 4. And the reason why we have a cap is because we recognize that the AP program is a program that's very specifically written for an external test with a very external curriculum, and we are not interested in our students having only that experience. Okay. We don't need them to take more. They are read in context, as Ms. Petrella pointed out. That the colleges know that our students can only take 3 in their sophomore year or junior year and only take 4 in their senior year, so they recognize that that's part of it. They are not penalized for it. In fact, it's a benefit for them because they don't have to take 7 APs, and they can actually have the strongest strength of schedule. It's a benefit to them for us to have that program, and it actually helps them dramatically. Okay, other questions about APs before I jump on, because I am already over time. Am I rushing?
You're good.
A little bit? Okay. All right. Class size. People are interested in this. So this year, our class sizes in the high school. This is the upper. I'm sorry. This isn't the full school. So this is the entire school, grades 6 through 10, or 6 through 12. Our average class size was 14.49. And I show that, and you can see the way it works is that basically there was one class in the whole school that had more 19. There are 20 classes that are 18 and 19. We consider our sweet spot to be 13 to 17 because it's something we can control around. And then 30 classes were 11 to 12, 17 were 9 to 10, and then we had 14 there were fewer than 9. Actually, if I'm honest, I don't like those classes that are that small. I like having a few more students in my class. What was it in the upper school? The upper school average this year was 13.91. Oh, so it's even a little bit smaller. Now, we advertise that we're average 15 students in the class. We have always been below 15 students in the class. Normally, we're about in this range. This is probably what we can expect to see over the next 4 years. Make sense? Finally, history of PRS graduating classes by numbers. That's why this is interesting. So this is on this column, I'm going to bring in one column of data at a time. And so we're going all the way back to 2017 through 2025. And basically what I'm going to show you is, first of all, is these are the size of our graduating classes during this time. Haven't always been increasing, but generally on an increasing pattern. 120 students was the most we ever had, and it was the last of our quote-unquote COVID classes, if that makes sense. And so that's sort of the way that played out. What's of note, though, is that from 2017 to 2025, that's a, what, 50% increase? 50% increase. And that you can see potentially a lot of change in these numbers as a result of that. Here's what I start to see as think is fascinating. This number is our unweighted GPA, not the weighted GPA. It's the average unweighted GPA of a high school graduate. Look how consistent that is. I mean, over those years, the average, the lowest was 3.58 and the highest was 3.77. We don't try to do that. It's just what's happened. It's been consistent throughout. Number of AP and honors courses that a graduate takes during their high school career has been this average. The average number of students. Once again, pretty darn consistent throughout. SAT and ACT, you're going to see some variability, and I actually wonder if I should take it out of this because of what's happened in the last 5 to 10 years. With from pre-COVID, every student took the ACT, the SAT. Now some do. Now it's changed all over the place. Both tests have been rejiggered, so the scores aren't comparable. So the numbers do change around a lot in here, but here they are. There is some consistency to it for sure, and I put those asterisks to show when they start testing in school and started being optional unless people were taking them. And then finally, the average number of years of a student at Pacific Ridge, that's always been around 5. It became a little lighter, those top numbers in the 5s to the 4.8. That changed when we increased the size of the 9th grade from, I think it was 90 to 110 the first time. So that's the first time that we started bringing more 9th graders like we're doing now. So that's what I showed you. Now, I share that with you, and I share it with you for one particular reason. If you look at it since 2017 to 2025 and you look at all that data, I hope what you see is that there's a tremendous amount of consistency in our product. A tremendous amount of consistency of what we're able to put together. It doesn't matter if the school has gotten larger, it doesn't matter if what teachers have come in, it doesn't matter if COVID's been going, whatever throughout these processes, our program and our students and our staff work together to create a pretty consistent result for our students. And for our families, and that's really the whole point of what it is. What I want to leave you with finally before we go, and then I will get you out close to our time, is this. One of the things, as I've been here for 20 years now. This is my 20th year at Pacific Ridge. I've been fortunate enough to actually spend a decade of my professional life with my kids at the school. Both of them graduated here, one in 2021 and one in 2024. I can't tell you enough about the experience they had here and what it did for them and what the program's done for the school. But what I want you to be thinking about most as you begin to thinking about high school is thinking about the fact that what we know about the transition, not from high school, middle school to high school, but the transition from high school to college. What we know about the transition from high school to college is this. When students go from high school to college, everything in their life has changed. They move to a new city, they move to a new place most of the time, they have new friends, it's a new environment. They are looking to replicate the experience they had. They go to a brand new place and they're looking for familiarity. So what does that mean for a parent? It means as a parent, what you want to be looking for is a high school experience that you want them to replicate. Because when they get to college, they are going to replicate pieces of their program. At Pacific Ridge, our students learn how to use time. They use time to go talk to their parent, talk to their teachers. They probably hope they talk to you, but they go talk to their teachers, to go talk to their friends, to develop their own interests, to develop passions, to learn, try out new things, to pivot, to do something and realize they don't want to do it. They learn how to use their time to travel at the end of every year, and that becomes something they replicate and do in college. They learn how to use their time, how to take on extra ideas, to be leadership roles. All the things you heard about our program are part of the way they learn and spend their lives. If they go to high school and they party and they go to football games, they're going to party and go to football games when they go to college. probably gonna do it anyway too. But if they go to high school and they actually learn to be to have the experience that you want them to replicate, that's gonna be their habit, and that's what they're going to insist about when they go to college. They're gonna insist on having that program. And what we hear from our alums every year is that they're shocked that their peers in college don't know how to talk to their teachers. They don't know how to talk to their professors. They're scared to go out and take on leadership roles. Our students are not. They're ready for it because they're used to it because they did it in high school. It's a great program. I'm so thankful for it for my kids, and I hope you enjoy it too. So have a great night. Thank you so much for coming.